haven't even been in the back door.
Well, no, that's what it works.
I know, I'd always parked out front. I was
parked out front.
I just about went through the front door.
Standing by with first aid kits.
All right, it's 12 o'clock. We'll
Okay.
call this finance committee special meeting to order. Looks like we have a quorum. We normally do a roll call.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Rod Beck,
Here.
Zach Brooks.
Here.
Dan Heyer,
Present.
Matt Newton,
President.
John Owen.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a floor.
We have a quorum. Okay. Let's see, we have anyone willing to make a motion if they have reviewed and would like to approve the June 18th, 2026 Finance Committee meeting minutes?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Heyer and seconded by Mr. Beck. All in favor?
Mr. Newton.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had my head down.
Commissioner, you're good.
I'm sorry.
But I'll say aye to that, yes.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up, we have an action item to approve the variance report from October 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2026. Let the Meg show begin.
Thank you. Skip.
Yes.
Okay. There we go. Alrighty, thank you, Mr. Chair. So first up, the variance report for the third quarter. This item begins on page 5 with the memo. It covers activity through June 30th, which is 75% of our fiscal year. The comparison is to the revision 2 budget, which was what was in place at the report date. I'm going to focus my comments on the budget to actual line item report, which is on page 7. Just cover a few with highlights. Sorry. So about 50% of our budgeted federal grants have been billed out as of the report date. That's all the activity that has occurred through May. The high capacity transit corridor Pell study project is completed, and those remaining federal funds of about $38,000 were turned back. Carbon reduction study, waterway pathway studies also completed, with the carbon reduction fully billed and the final billing on the waterway pathway expected in the fourth quarter. Next on the list are the consolidated planning grant funds we carried forward from fiscal year 25. You can see that it looks like we've billed more than was available here. That was due to an error in calculating the carried forward amount. That'll be corrected in Rev 3, our next item. The available funds were entirely billed out as of the fourth quarter. The next 2 lines are the fiscal year 25 and 26 off the top funds for planning. These have been entirely billed out as well. We have a little bit of funding remaining to cover installation of a bike counter. We're still waiting on the vendor on that piece. And then next we have the off the top funds specific to the transportation priorities poll. We are working with Boise State to get that under contract currently. We may have some activity to bill on that in the fourth quarter, but are conservatively budgeting to carry that full amount shown in green forward. We have our fiscal year 2026 consolidated planning grant. We have budgeted to bill out all the eligible expenses we have and anticipate having about $60,000 left to carry forward into FY27. We have our communities in motion $2055. We are anticipating a carry forward of at least 288,000 of that to continue work on communities in motion 2055. The plan is on target for adoption in December of 2027. And then finally, we have a carried forward of about 161,000 to wrap up the Safe Streets and Roads for All implementation project known as SPEARS in FY27. The next section is other revenues. We've filled out all revenues for the year. That additional 6,500 or so is due to Idaho County to our membership. We are on track for about 65,000 in total interest revenue by the end of the year, which will put us about $10,000 ahead of budget. We had budgeted to receive 35,000 in participant contributions from the cities of Eagle and Caldwell. for project development projects. As of today, those projects are not yet under contract, so we are planning to carry them forward into FY 27. So far, we've collected about 78,000 in participant contributions for the FY 26 ortho photography flight, and expecting a total of just over 120,000 by the end of the year, putting us about 3,600 behind budget there. Those last three categories are revenues that we collect for fee-based activities completed for members of the public. We don't budget any of that revenue. Moving on to expenses on the further on down the page there, our largest category is our salaries and benefits for the 19% staff. At 74% of budget as of June 30th, so right on target, we are fully staffed. And we expect to end the year on budget, at budget in this category. Next up are our direct expenses, starting with professional services. So on the right, we have the expected year-end variance compared to budget. The amounts in black are true variances, dollars that will not be spent, and the amounts in green are what we expect to carry over to fiscal year 27. You'll see some correlation here with the revenue side, the resiliency plan, waterway pathway plan, high capacity transit corridor Pell, and the carbon reduction study are all completed and have corresponding federal dollars associated with them. Those the high capacity transit corridor Pell came in under budget, those excess dollars were turned back. We have the direct expenses for Communities in Motion 2055, the graphics editing and translation. Conservatively estimating to spend about 10,000 remaining in this year, carrying the rest forward to FY 27. Continuing work on the Spears project, but we do anticipate carrying those funds into 27 to wrap that up. And then we have about 235,000 in Communities in Motion that is not programmed in 26, so we will carry that over into 27. We have 2 more education series yet to come this fiscal year. Hope to see you there, and are expecting that category to come in under budget. Our 2 Communities in Motion implementation grants for Caldwell and Wilder were completed. Wilder's project came in just a little bit under the 50,000 awarded. We've not spent any of the 30,000 that we budgeted in case data gathering or other support was needed for a federal grant application. Our government affairs consultant didn't go under contract until mid-November, so that item is expected to come in under budget. We did not use any of the any outside technical support for a regional travel demand model as budgeted, but we are expecting to do some traffic counts in September and spend about 20,000 of that total $60,000 budget. As I mentioned on project development, skipped over orthography. So we did add some additional geography to the flight this year, so those costs came in a little bit higher than budget, but we have those revenues from sales to the public to cover that additional amount. On project development, I mentioned those 2 projects that are not yet under contract, so expecting to carry those 2 forward to FY 27, and then the remaining projects will be completed. And lastly, working with Boise State on the transportation priorities poll, getting that under contract. We may see some expense in FY 26, but for the budget purpose, we're planning to carry that forward into 27. And we have all of our other direct expenses. We have savings against budget in our staff training and printing that helps offset some of the overages that we see in the legislative and meeting support line items. We are carrying over those public involvement dollars shown in green into FY 27 for Communities in Motion. Indirect expenses covers IT support, auditing, building maintenance, insurance, etc. We expect to come in about $23,000 under budget in that category overall, with most of that savings from IT support. We do anticipate making a draw from our fund balance to balance the budget, but as shown in the orange bar on the far right side, we expect this to be less than the budget amount shown in blue. Looking at our fund balance over time, we've gradually been drawing that down over the past 3 years, but we're still well above that $1 million minimum reserve requirement that you established. That is all my comments there. Happy to answer any questions. I will say there are the same information is shown on a program basis. I won't go through those, but comments are provided in there. And then there is the balance sheet on page 10 in your packet that shows our balance sheet position as of the 3rd. That concludes my comments.
All right, any questions or comments? Questions for Meg? All right, this is an action item. We'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we approve the variance report.
Motion's been made by Mr. Hyder and seconded by Mr. Newton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Meg. Guess you can take the next one. Recommend approval of revision 3 of the fiscal year 2026 Unified Planning Work Program and budget.
Thank you, Sheriff. So this item starts on page 11 with the memo. The complete document is included in your packet, all the financial worksheet piece and the program worksheet pieces. I'm going to talk just about the summary of changes, which is on page 13, but happy to answer questions on any part of it that's included there. So just walking through the changes, starting with an increase in the amount of consolidated planning grant carried forward from fiscal year 25. I mentioned this in the variance report that we had the incorrect amount as the carried forward. So just adjusting that, and those dollars have been fully built out. Next up are some adjustments to the fiscal year 2026 consolidated planning grant. So good news, more funding was obligated from the Federal Transit Administration than what we expected. So we're adding that amount in, including a local match. And on the expense side, we are adding some carry forward. So we've completely programmed all eligible expenses against the CPG, and we still have about 26,000 left over that we were not able to apply, including the local match. So carrying that piece forward. We are adding off the top funding with a carry forward on the expense side. So these funds were obligated in fiscal year 2026, but we are planning to spend them in fiscal year 2027. But including them here enables us to match revenue dollars in the UPWP with the revenues in the tip and line everything up in the same year, which is what FHWA wants to see. So this early obligation of funds means we're ready to go on October 1. We're just picking up that category, carried forward for FY27. In a similar way, we have off the top funds for the fiscal impact pool update. That project will get underway in 27. We're just picking up those revenues as they're shown in the tip and showing the carry forward. Next up is the Communities in Motion $2055. The total for this project was about $693,000 that got underway in fiscal year 2023. On the revenue side, this is correcting the total amount of the funding that's left carried forward from fiscal year 25. And on the expense side, we're adjusting what we expect in direct expenses for the remainder of the project and making a related adjustment to the amount to carry forward into 27. So we are on track to have Communities in Motion 2055 adopted in December of 2027. We have an adjustment to the amount carried forward for the implementation project for Safe Streets and Roads for All. Not all of the costs that we budgeted for staff time in 26 will be spent, so we are pulling that forward into 27 when the project will wrap up. Similar to a couple of previous items, we have off the top funds for the Transportation System Management and Operations, or TSMO, update that is planned for 27, but those funds are obligated in 26. So we're picking up the revenues and showing a carry forward. And then lastly, we have an adjustment to the amount of fund balance that we need to balance our budget. With all of those additional obligated dollars, we have some additional local match requirements that made this necessary. Overall, we have about $1,082,000 in net adjustments of both revenue and expense, bringing our total FY26 budget to $6.7 million. That concludes my comments.
Any questions for Meg? All right, how about a motion? We recommend approval to the full board.
I'll make the motion. The Finance Committee recommends come to the board approval of revision 3 of the FY26 Unified Work Program. Second.
The motion's been made by Mr. Mex, seconded by Mr. Hyder. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Keep going.
Back to Meg.
So next is the fiscal year 2027 Unified Planning Work Program budget coming for you for recommendation today. Just a reminder on our process, we started with kind of a 5-year outlook in March to place the budget in the kind of bigger picture context. And you also recommended dues at that meeting. Those dues were approved by the board in April. Last month, we brought a preliminary draft to you and you provided some feedback to us. Today, we're asking for your recommendation of approval by the board. If that happens, then we will bring it to the board at the August meeting for their approval. If that happens, then it is forwarded on to ITD and FHWA for their review and approval. And we are all set to begin our fiscal year on October 1. So, your packet includes the financial worksheets, a summary of revenue and expenses on page 39, funding source worksheet. It's my favorite. It shows how all the federal grants and local dollars are applied to our various programs of line item expenses, summaries of both our direct and indirect expenses, and how the work days for our professional staff are allocated across the programs. We have the program worksheets in your packet that shows the funding and expenses, as well as the planned activities for each program. I'm just going to talk about the revenue and expense summary, but I'm happy to answer questions on any part. So starting with revenues on the left side, we have member dues. This is the same as what you saw going back to March. Our proposed dues and that gradual increase that you see there is mostly due to population increase. We've held the per capita rate at the same amount since 2015. We have added a couple of new members, Elmore County most recently, Boise County in the prior year, and that accounts for, along with the population increase, the increase in dues. Our next section is federal grants. The first item listed is that carry forward from 2026 that we talked about in revision 3. We have our total consolidated planning grant for FY 2027 of just under 1.8 million. This matches up with the amount in the tip. A transportation reauthorization bill has been introduced, which includes some proposed increases in planning funds, but we are not expecting this bill to be taken up before the start of our fiscal year on October 1. We do expect a continuing resolution of the current transportation funding bill when it expires that would maintain this current level of funding. We have the off the top funds that were already obligated in fiscal year 26 for 27, as we talked about previously. This amount reflects the increase in off the top that was approved by the board in April. Next 3 items are one-time off the top funds for the transportation priorities pool, the fiscal impact tool update, and the performance measure framework update. Funds for the poll and the fiscal impact tool are already obligated in 26, and there are corresponding direct expenses with these. The Smart Corridors project and the Transportation System Management and Operations TSMO plan are both projects in the tip for fiscal year 27, and there are corresponding direct dollar expenditures for these. We do have the 2 revenue buckets for this project, but it will be conducted as one project for efficiency. We have our remaining funds for Communities in Motion 2055 carried forward from fiscal year 26, and the remaining fund for the implementation project for Safe Streets and Roads for All carried forward. This project will wrap up in 27. In total, federal grant funding of about $4 million. Other revenues, we have our participant contributions for the archaeography flight. This is the final flight under the current agreement. We had a multi-year agreement with a fixed annual price and 6 flights total. Estimating about $60,000 in interest income. And then there again, we have those participant contributions for the project development projects we carried forward from 26. Last section is our draws from fund balance. We have our implementation grants budgeted at $100,000 and local match on various federally funded projects. And then a draw from fund balance of about $187,000 to balance our budget. In total, $451,000 draw from fund balance, significant, but still leaves us well above that $1 million reserve requirement. Overall, our federal grants make up about 68% of our funding in fiscal year 27, 20% from member dues, and other items make up the balance. Moving on to expenses, we have our salaries and benefit expenses as the largest share of our budgeted expenses, and that covers our 19 full-time staff. We're currently fully staffed and we don't have plans for any additional positions. Per your feedback in June, we have included a 3% COLA for all staff, including the executive director. This corresponds approximately to the CPI Urban West for the 12 months ended June 2026, which was 3.2%. We have included a merit pool of 2% for all employees except the executive director to allow for recognition of performance. We included dollars for the approved increase from the executive director that the board approved at its last meeting. On the benefit side, we've made a 3% allowance for increase in our health benefits and disability, workers' comp, and so forth. No adjustment to per seat is expected in this fiscal year. And then we have included a cost share for medical premiums for covered spouses of about 10%. Compass would still cover 90% of that premium cost for covered spouses and continue to cover employees and children at 100%. Our indirect costs come down a little bit compared to the prior year. This covers audit fees, building, insurance, etc. And additional line item details on page 42. This is savings compared to the prior year, mostly around contracted IT support. Next up is our direct expenses. These can vary quite a bit from year to year. Additional detail is on page 41. So we have the remaining expected direct costs for Communities in Motion 2055, as well as the unprogrammed amount we expect to carry forward into the final year of that plan, fiscal year 28. We have the direct costs to wrap up the Spirit project under Safe Streets and Roads for All, the performance measure framework update, which has those one-time off the dot dollars to fund it. We'll get underway in 27. Dollars for our bike counter program. This is mainly supplies and the costs of data transmission. For the tip, we have a little bit of funding for outreach for public comment. We have budgeted $150,000 in new projects for project development. Those will be awarded by the board in August, and then $135,000 for projects carryover from the last year. Allowing about $30,000 for data collection and other support that might be needed for federal grant applications. And finally, $100,000 for our Communities in Motion implementation grants, also awarded by the board in August. We have our fiscal impact tool update that has those off the top dollars associated with it. The communications program is our education series, safety outreach campaign, and other outreach. This is pretty consistent with the prior year, as is government affairs. That covers our contracted support as well as membership in national organizations like NARC and AMPO. Staff development, again, very consistent with 2026. That's the same dollar amount. Covers training and conferences for our 19 staff. We have direct dollars for supporting the regional travel demand model. And then next up is that TSMO and Smart Corridors plan. It's got those off the top funds associated with it. The almost $200,000 for GIS covers the software and then the cost of that final flight in the current contract. And then our direct operations expenses, this is mainly software and technology that supports all of our activities. So total direct of about 2.7 million. So looking at our fund balance picture, we expect it to end the year at just under $1.7 million in fund balance. Again, we're gradually drawing that down, but we're still well above that required reserve. That's all I have on that. I can answer any questions.
When was the last time that we were fully staffed? It's been a while.
Let's see, we hired our bike counter person in December, so that's when we got to 19 and we've held there, but that vacancy was a full year at least. We had some trouble with that position.
I'm not surprised by the recommendation for some employee cost sharing. The county had to do that last year, and I don't know the full extent of what the claims are here, but it's They changed behaviors, how about that? It really helped at the county. But it's also super expensive, so. It's gotta be some give and take somewhere. Well, this is also an action item, so I would entertain a motion to recommend approval. What Meg just presented to the full board.
I move that we approve the Compass Finance Committee recommendation of approval of the FY 2027 Unified Planning Work Program and Budget.
Motion. Wants to fight for the second.
Second.
Okay, there we go. Motion's been made by Mr. Newton, seconded by Mr. Beck. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Meg.
You're welcome.
It doesn't look like you're off the hook yet.
Okay.
Next up, you have information discussion item for a report of disbursements made.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Believe it or not, I have nothing to say, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. Any questions? Let's see. All right. Comments, questions, concerns? Thank you, Meg. Next meeting is August 13th. Any other business that we need to take care of?
Mr. Chair, if I could just note,
Yes.
we will be going to the executive committee to seek another recommendation from the executive committee to take the board for a representative from Canyon County.
Okay.
So we're one short right now, thereby forcing everyone in the room to make a motion or a second at least once in order to earn your meals. But we do, the bylaws do say that we have 3 from Canyon, 3 from Ada, in addition to the chair. So
This is any jurisdiction within Canyon County?
any member agency would.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be going to executive committee for that next month.
Excellent. Well, if there's no further business or questions or comments, this meeting is adjourned at 12:28. Thank you.
Thanks.